So, 2020 has been really crazy. I feel like you could say that statement any day of the year and it'd be valid. But with World War III almost starting, Australia being burnt to bits, the beginning and ensuing global pandemic of the coronavirus, the Ben Drowned ARG starting back up. Wait, what was that last one? Ben Drowned. Now that is a name I haven't heard in quite some time. For those unaware, Ben Drowned was a creepypasta turned ARG that took the internet by storm 10 years ago. Oh god. His story is different than most other creepypastas out there. For one, it was the originator of the whole haunted video game trope that's so prevalent now in the creepypasta field. Ben Drowned was the haunted video game story, at least the only one that mattered in my opinion. Now, what makes this story so special, you may ask? Well, we're going to dive into that here, at least partially. You see, Ben Drowned is an old story, but it's an old story that has run far past its initial entry listing on the Creepypasta Wiki. This story has 3 distinct arcs, named the Haunted Cartridge arc, which is what most people are familiar with, the Moon Children arc, and the last is sort of a hybrid between the Hubris and Awakening arcs, the last of which is currently ongoing. And we'll go into more detail on those later. For the purposes of detail, we're going to tackle each arc individually so we can give each the proper focus that they deserve. So, 3 videos in total. Well, to begin with. Before I begin proper, I want to give some credit where credit is due. First and foremost, to Alex Hall. He's the creator of the story, and you can find him over on his Twitter at Alexander D. Hall. This is the main source of info on the game currently running and is considered the official out-of-character platform alongside his Patreon, which I'll link in the description below. I'd consider supporting if the story and those like it are up your alley. Next, I'd like to thank Circle Hunter on Twitter. He is the owner of the Jadusable Wiki and has kept detailed notes on all the events of this 10-year-old story. All of the info provided in this video is thanks to his dedicated efforts, and I'll link the Jadusable Wiki down below as well. I'm sure we'll get into more of the detailed thanks later on, but if everything's all set, let's get started on the first arc, the Haunted Cartridge. September 2010. The world was a much simpler time, but as the simpler that things seem, the more complex the events they hide. Our story begins on the paranormal boards of 4chan. A user going by the screen name Jadusable posted some concerning topics on the message board. Now, other videos that have covered this story sought to give the bullet list of the story that Jadusable tells. This isn't going to be like that. I'm going to read it as it was initially posted, and for that reason will become apparent soon enough. If you're previously familiar with the story, I'll have timestamps in the description to skip past each read-through. But if it's been some time since you've read it, I recommend you stay around for the finer details. His first message is as follows. Okay, X, I need your help with this. This is not copypasta. This is a long read, but I feel like my safety or well-being could very well depend on this. This is video game related, specifically Majora's Mask, and this is the creepiest shit that has ever happened to me in my entire life. Having said that, I recently moved into my dorm room starting as a sophomore in college, and a friend of mine gave me his old Nintendo 64 to play. I was stoked to say the least. I could finally play all those old games of my youth that I hadn't touched in at least a decade. This Nintendo 64 came with one yellow controller and a rather shoddy copy of Super Smash Bros. And while beggars can't be choosers, needless to say, it didn't take long until I became bored of beating up level 9 CPUs. That weekend, I decided to drive around a few neighborhoods about 20 minutes or so off campus, hitting up the local garage sales, hoping to score on some good deals from ignorant parents. I ended up picking a copy of Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, fuck yeah, F-Zero, and 2 other controllers for $2. Satisfied, I began to drive out of the neighborhood when one last house caught my attention. I still have no idea why it did. There were no cars there, and only one table was set up with random junk on it. But something sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out of the car and I was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance was, for lack of a better word, displeasing. It was odd. If he asked me to tell you why I thought he was displeasing, I couldn't really pinpoint anything. There was just something about him that put me on edge. I can't explain it. All I can tell you is that if it wasn't the middle of the afternoon, and there weren't other people within shadowing distance, I would not have even thought of approaching this man. He flashed a crooked smile at me, and asked what I was looking for. I immediately noticed that he must be blind in one of his eyes. His right eye had that glazed over look about it. I forced myself to look at his left eye instead, trying not to offend, and asked him if he had any old video games. I was already wondering how I could politely excuse myself from the situation when he would tell me that he had no idea what a video game was. But to my surprise, he said he had a few old ones in an old box. He assured me he'd be back in a jiffy and turned to head back into the garage. As I watched him hobble away, I couldn't help but notice what he was selling on his table. Littered across his table were rather peculiar paintings. Various artworks that looked like ink blots that a psychiatrist might show you. Curious, I looked through them. It was obvious why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. These weren't exactly aesthetically pleasing. As I came for the last one, for some reason it looked almost like Majora's Mask. The same heart-shaped body with the little spikes protruding outward. Initially, I just thought that since I was secretly hoping to find the game at these garage sales, some Freudian bullshit was projecting itself into the ink blots. But given the events that happened afterward, I'm not so sure. I should have asked the old man about it. I wish I had asked the man about it. After staring at the Majora-shaped blot, I looked up and the old man was suddenly there again, arm's length in front of me, smiling at me. I'll admit I jumped out of reflex and I laughed nervously as he handed me a Nintendo 64 cartridge. It was the standard gray color, except that someone had written Majora on it in black permanent marker. I got butterflies in my stomach and I realized what a coincidence this was, and asked him how much he wanted for it. The old man smiled at me and told me I could have it for free, that it used to belong to a kid who was about my age that didn't live here anymore. There was something weird about how the man phrased that, but I didn't really pay attention to them. I was too caught up in not only finding this game, but getting it for free. I reminded myself to be a bit skeptical since this looked like a pretty shady cartridge, and there was no guarantee it would work. But then the optimist inside me interjected that maybe it was some kind of beta version, or pirated version of the game, and that was all I needed to be back on Cloud 9. I thanked the man, and he smiled at me and wished me well, saying, "Goodbye then!" At least, that's what it sounded like to me. All the way in the car ride home, I had the nagging doubt that the man had said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise, it worked just fine. And there was one save file, named simply Ben. Goodbye, Ben. He was saying goodbye, Ben. I felt bad for the man, obviously a grandparent and obviously going senile, and I, for some reason or another, reminded him of his grandson Ben. Out of curiosity, I looked at the save file. Eyeballing it, I could tell it was pretty far in the game. He almost had all the masks and 3/4 of the remains of the bosses. I noticed they'd used an owl statue to save his game. He was on day 3 and by the Stone Tower Temple with hardly an hour left before the moon would crash. I remember thinking that it was a shame he came so close to beating the game but never finished it. I made a new file named Link, out of tradition, and started the game, ready to relive my childhood. For such a shady looking game cartridge, I was impressed by how smoothly it ran, literally just like a retail copy of the game save for just a few minor hiccups here and there, like textures being where they shouldn't be, random flashes of cutscenes at odd intervals, but nothing too bad. However, the only thing that was a little unnerving was the times the NPCs would call me Link, and on other times they'd call me Ben. I figured it was just a bug, a fluke in the programming causing our files to get mixed up or something. It did kind of creep me out though after a while, and it was around after I'd beaten the Woodfall Temple that I regrettably went into the save files and deleted Ben. I had intended to preserve the file just out of respect for the game's original owner. It's not like I needed 2 files anyway. Hoping that would solve the problem, it did, and it didn't. Now, NPCs wouldn't call me anything. Where my name should be in the dialogue, there was just a blank space. My save file name was still called Link though. Frustrated, and with homework to do, I put the game down for the day. I started playing the game again last night, getting the Lens of Truth and working my way towards completing the Snowhead Temple. Now, some of you more hardcore Majora's Mask players know about the 4th day glitch. For those who don't, you can Google it, but the gist of it is that right as the clock is about to hit 0 on the final day, you talk to the astronomer and look through the telescope. If you time it right, the countdown disappears, and you essentially have another day to finish whatever you were doing. Deciding to do the glitch and finish the Snowhead Temple, I happened to get it right on the first try, and the time counter at the bottom disappeared. However, when I pressed B to exit the telescope, instead of being greeted by the astronomer, I found myself in the Majora boss fight room at the end of the game. The trippy boxed-in arena. Staring at the skull kid hovering above me, there was no sound, just him floating in the air above me, and that background music which was regular for the area, but still creepy. Immediately my palms began to sweat. This was definitely not normal. Skull Kid never appeared here. I tried moving around the area, and no matter where I went, Skull Kid would always be facing me, looking at me, not saying anything. Nothing would happen though, and this kept up for around 60 seconds. I thought the game had bugged or something, but I was beginning to doubt that very much. I was about to reach for the reset button when the text appeared on my screen. You're not sure why, but you apparently had a reservation. I instantly recognized that text. You get that message when you get the room key from Anju at the Stockpot Inn. But why was it playing here? I refused to entertain the notion that it was almost as if the game was trying to communicate with me. I started navigating the room again, testing to see if it was some sort of trigger that enabled me to interact with something here. Then I realized how stupid I was. To even think that someone could reprogram the game like this was absurd. Sure enough, 15 seconds later another message appeared on the screen. And again, like the first one, it was already a pre-existing phrase. Go to the lair of the temple's boss? Yes, no. I paused for a second, contemplating what I should press and how the game would react, when I realized that I couldn't select no. Taking a deep breath, I pressed yes and the screen faded to white with the words, Dawn of a New Day, with lines as the subtext beneath it. Where I was ported to filled me with the most intense sense of dread and impending fear that I'd ever experienced. The only way I can describe the way I felt here is having this feeling of inexplicable depression on a profound scale. I'm normally not a depressed person, but the way I felt here was a feeling I didn't even know existed. It was such a twisted, powerful presence that seemed to wash over me. I appeared in some kind of weird Twilight Zone version of Clocktown. I walked out of the clock tower as you normally do when you start from day one, only to find that all of the inhabitants were gone. Usually with the 4th day glitch you can still find the guards and the dog that runs around the tower. This time they were all gone. What replaced them was the ominous feeling that there was something out there, in the same area as me, that was watching. I had 4 hearts to my name and the hero's bow, but at this point I wasn't even considered for my avatar. I felt that I was personally in some kind of danger. Perhaps the most chilling thing was the music. It was the Song of Healing, ripped straight from the game itself, but played in reverse. The music would get louder, building up as so if you should expect something to pop out at you. But nothing ever did, and the constant loop began to wear in my mental state. Every now and then I would hear the faint laugh of the happy mask salesman in the background, just quiet enough so that I wasn't sure if I was hearing things, but just loud enough to keep me determined to find him. I looked in all 4 zones of Clocktown, only to find nothing. No one. Textures were missing. West Clocktown had me walking on air. The entire area felt broken. Hopelessly broken. As the reverse Song of Healing repeated for what must have been the 50th time, I just remember standing in the middle of South Clocktown, realizing that I'd never felt so alone in a video game before. As I walked through the ghost town, I don't know whether it was the combination of the out-of-place textures and the atmosphere of the haunting melody, the once peaceful and soothing song being butchered and distorted, but I was literally on the verge of tears and I had no idea why. I hardly ever cry. Something had gripped me here in this powerful sense of depression that was both foreign and crippling. I tried leaving Clocktown, but every time I attempted to zone out, the screen would fade to black and I would just zone into another part of Clocktown. I tried playing my ocarina. I wanted to escape, and I did not want to be here. But every time I tried to play the Song of Time or Song of Soaring, it would only say, your notes echo far, but nothing happens. By this point, it was obvious the game didn't want me to leave, but I had no idea why it was keeping me here. I didn't want to go inside the buildings. I felt that I would be too vulnerable in there for whatever I was terrified of. I don't know why, but I came up with the idea that maybe if I drowned myself at the laundry pool, I could spawn somewhere else and leave this place. As I zoned in and ran towards the pool, that's when it happened. Link grabbed his head, and the screen flashed for a brief moment at the happy mask salesman smiling at me. Not Link, me, with the Skull Kid screen playing in the background. When the screen returned, I was staring at the Link statue from playing the song Elegy of Emptiness. I screamed as the thing just stared back at me with a haunting facial expression. I turned around and ran out back to South Clocktown. And to my horror, the fucking statue followed me, and the only way I can compare this is like the weeping angels from Doctor Who. Every so often, at random intervals, the animation would play of the statue appearing behind me. It was like the thing was chasing me, or, I don't even want to fucking say it, haunting me. By this point, I was on the verge of hysterics, but not even once did the thought of turning off the console ever occur to me. I don't know why. I was so wrapped up in it. The terror felt all so real. I tried to shake the statue, but it would literally appear right behind me every single time. Link started to begin to make weird animations I had never seen him do before. He would flail his arms around and spasm randomly, and the screen would cut to the happy mask salesman smiling again for a brief moment, before I was face to face with that fucking statue again. I ended up running into the Swordsmaster's dojo and ran to the back. I don't know why, but in my panic I just wanted some kind of assurance that I'm not alone here. To my dismay, I found no one, but as I turned to leave, the statue cornered me in the cubby in the back. I tried attacking the statue with my sword, but to no avail. Confused and backed into a corner, I just stared at the statue, waiting for it to kill me. Suddenly, the screen flashed again to the Happy Mask salesman, and Link turned to face my screen, standing upright mirroring the statue, looking at me along with his copy, literally staring at me. Whatever was left of the fourth wall was completely shattered when I ran out of the dojo, terrified. Suddenly, the game warped me to an underground tunnel, and the reverse song of healing queued up again as I was given a brief moment of rest before the statue started appearing behind me again. This time, aggressively. I could only take a few steps before it would summon me again. I hurriedly made my way out of the tunnel and appeared in southern Clocktown. As I ran endlessly, in a sheer panic, suddenly a redoubt screamed and screen faded to black. It's dawn of a new day, and the lines appeared again. The screen faded, and I was standing on top of the clock tower, with Skull Kid hovering over me again, silent. I looked up, and the moon was back, looming just meters above my head. The Skull Kid just stared at me hauntingly with that fucking mask. A new song was playing. The Stone Tower Temple theme played in reverse. It was some sort of desperate attempt. I equipped my bow and fired off a shot at the Skull Kid, and it actually hit him, and it played an animation of him reeling back. I fired again, and on the third arrow a text box appeared saying, "That won't do you any good." And I was picked up off the ground, levitated upwards on my back, and then Link screamed as he burst into flames, instantly killing him. I jumped when this happened. I had never seen this move used by anyone in the game, and Skull Kid himself didn't have any moves. As the death screen played, my lifeless body still burning. The Skull Kid laughed and the screen faded to black, only to have me reappear in the same place. I decided to charge him, but the same thing happened. Link's body was lifted off the ground by some unknown force, and he immediately burst into flames again, killing him. This time during the death screen, the faint sounds of the reverse song of healing could be heard. On my third and final try, I noticed there was no music playing this time. That all there was an eerie silence. I remembered that in the original encounter with the Skull Kid, you were supposed to use the ocarina to travel back in time or summon the giants. I wanted to play the Song of Time, but before I could hit the last notes, Link's body once again horrifically exploded into flames, and he died. As the death screen neared its end, it began to chug, as if the cartridge was trying to process a lot of something. When the screen came to, it was the same scene as the first 3 times, except this time Link was lying on the ground dead in a position I had never seen in the game before, his head tilted towards the camera, with the Skull Kid floating above him. I couldn't move, I couldn't press any buttons. All I could do was just stare at Link's dead body. After around 30 seconds of this, the game simply fades out with the message, with the Skull Kid's laughing looping again and again. I quickly hit the reset button, and when the game booted up, there was one save file added, below your turn, entitled Ben. Ben's save file is right back where it was before I deleted it, at the Stone Tower Temple with the moon almost crashing. I turned off the game at that point. I'm not superstitious, but this is way too fucked up, even for me. I haven't played it at all today. Hell, I didn't even try to get any sleep last night. I kept hearing the reverse song of healing music in my head, and just remembering the sense of dread I felt exploring Clocktown. I drove back to the old man's house today to ask him some questions with a buddy of mine. No way was I going there alone. Only to find out there's a for sale sign in the front yard. When I rang, no one was home. So now I'm back here writing down the rest of my thoughts and recording what happened. Sorry if some of this has grammatical errors and whatnot. I'm running on no sleep here. I'm terrified of this game, even more so now that I've relived it a second time writing all of this down. but I feel there's still more to it that meets the eye, that there's something calling to investigate this further. I think Ben is something in this equation, but I don't know what. And if I could get a hold of all the old man, then I'd be able to find some answers. I need another day or so to recuperate before tackling this game again. It's already taken a toll on my sanity, I feel like. The next time I do this, I'm going to be recording my footage all of the way through. The idea to record only came to me towards the end, so you see the last few minutes of what I saw, including the skull kid and the elegy statue. But it's on YouTube here. I'm going to stay in this thread for a little while longer before I fall asleep to answer any questions you guys might have, or hopefully listen to your ideas or theories to help me and shed some light onto this, or maybe some things I should try to do. I think I'm going to play Ben's file tomorrow and see what happens. Maybe I was supposed to do that all along. I don't believe in paranormal shit. This is a little fucked up. Maybe this Ben guy is just a really good hacker/programmer. I don't want to think about the alternatives if he... That's the end of the copy-paste. Hoping that maybe this is some kind of running gag the developers had and other people have gotten gagged or hacked to get a piece of the game like this. It just really scares me. Now, you may have noticed some video to accompany this entry as it went along. As the events of the story began, Jadusable thought it pertinent to record footage of the events he was experiencing and share it on his YouTube channel. Jadusable. Now, it's interesting to note that on his channel before he decided to upload, there were two videos, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines Rosa, and Prototype All Consume Kills. Warning, extremely graphic. We're not going to go over them right now, but these videos will become important and give more context for Arc 2. Anyway, on the same day as the posting of the first entry, day 4.wmv was uploaded. The events mirror the written summary as you've seen. Every following entry in Arc 1 I will have a corresponding video. Interesting things to keep in mind for the future. This is the first appearance of the reverse Song of Healing, or dubbed by the community, the Song of Unhealing. He flashed a crooked smile at me. I noticed that he must be blind in one of his eyes. Littered across this table were rather peculiar paintings, various artworks that looked like ink blots that a psychiatrist might show you. Curious, I looked through them. It was obvious why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. They weren't exactly aesthetically pleasing. I thanked the man, and the man smiled at me and he wished me well, saying, "Goodbye then. Your turn had 3 hearts." I drove back to the old man's house today to ask him some questions with a buddy of mine. No way I was going there alone. Sorry it took me so long, guys. I'm back. I'm going to post what happened and link the video footage. But last night everything got too real for me. I think I'm done messing around with this. Passed out pretty much immediately after making that thread. But last night, the Elegy of Emptiness statue. I had a dream about it. I dreamt that it was following me in my dream. That I'd be minding my own business when I'd feel my neck hair stand up on end. I would turn around, that thing, that horrible, lifeless statue would be staring with those empty eyes right at me, merely inches away. In my dream, I remember calling it Ben. Never before had I a dream that I could remember so vividly, but the important thing is I did get some sleep, I suppose. Today, putting off playing the game as long as I could, I drove back up to that neighborhood to see if the old man came back. As I expected, the car was still gone and no one was home. As I was walking back to my car, the man next door mowing the grass killed the power to his lawnmower and asked if I was looking for someone. I told him I was looking to talk to the old man that lived here, to which he told me what I already knew. He was moving. Trying a different avenue, I asked if the old man had any family or relatives I could talk to. I discovered that this old man had never been married, nor did he have any children or grandchildren through adoption. Starting to become worried, I asked one final question, one I should have asked from the beginning. Who was Ben? The man's expression turned grim. I learned that 4 doors down, around 8 years ago on April 23rd, the man informed me that it was the same day as his anniversary. That's how I knew the specific date. There was an accident with a young boy named Ben in the neighborhood. Shortly after his parents moved, and despite any further attempts to talk to the man and get more information, he wouldn't divulge anything else. I went back and started playing again. I loaded up the game and immediately I jumped at the title screen where the mask flies by. The sound that played was not the normal whoosh sound. It was something more higher pitched. I pressed start, bracing for the worst. But just like 2 nights ago, the files Your Turn and Ben were displayed. Truth be told, I looked at the Ben file earlier. It seems to fluctuate between displaying the L save and not. Brought up the Ben file, hesitated for a moment, noticing that the stats were not the same as the original when they were 2 days ago. It seems they had already completed the Stone Tower Temple this time. Summoning my courage, I selected it. Immediately I was thrusted into complete chaos. Sure enough, I was outside Stone Tower Temple, but that's about all that was expected. The zone itself wasn't called Stone Tower Temple, but rather Stone. And immediately a dialogue box of complete gibberish that I couldn't make out greeted me. Link's body was distorted. His back was cocked violently to the side, where his posture was permanently disfigured. Link's expression was dull, almost monotonous. He had an expression on his face that I didn't recognize before. It was a blank look, as if he was dead. As Link stood there, his body spasmed irregularly back and forth. I examined what had become of my avatar. I noticed I had a C button item I had never seen before, some kind of note, but pressing it did nothing. Sounds played back and forth that I didn't recognize from the game, almost demonic in nature, and there was some kind of high-pitched yip or some kind of laugh, something that played in the background. I had all of 2 minutes to take in the environment before another one of those fucking Elegy of Emptiness statues was summoned, and immediately after I was cut into the Dawn of a New Day screen, except this time it was without the subtext. I was a Deku scrub in Clocktown. This scene would normally play after the first time you traveled back in time. Title would say, "Ooh, what just happened?" As if everything has... But instead of saying "start it over," she finished her remark in broken text as the laugh of the happy mask salesman played in the background. I was put back in control of my character, but from a fucked up camera angle. I was looking from behind the door to the clock tower, watching my avatar run around as a Deku scrub. Seeing as how I had really no places to go, since I couldn't see anything, I begrudgingly went inside the door. There I was greeted by the happy mask salesman who simply told me, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" before the screen waited out. I was determined to feel as a human again. I might as well not have been playing the game anymore. I was being warped around and no sign of a day clock or anything. I took a moment to get my bearings as I looked around the field, and immediately I could tell this was not normal. There were no enemies, and a twisted version of the happy mask salesman theme was playing. I decided to run towards Woodfall before I noticed a gathering of 3 figures off to the side, one of them being Epona. As I approached them, to my horror, I saw the happy mask salesman, the Skull Kid, and the Elegy of Emptiness statue just standing there. I figured maybe they were bugged out, but by now I told myself that I should know better. Nevertheless, I approached them carefully and found that the Skull Kid was playing some kind of idle animation on loop. Same with Epona. And the Elegy of Emptiness statue was doing what it had been doing all along, just standing there, eerily. It was the happy mask salesman that scared me more profoundly than the other 2. He was too idle, wearing that shit-eating grin, but wherever I moved, his head slowly turned and followed me. I had not engaged in any dialogue with him, nor was I in combat with him, yet his head still continued to follow my movements. It reminded me of my first encounter with the Skull Kid on top of the clock tower. I pulled out my ocarina, to which the game played the ding sound when you're supposed to play your ocarina, and tried to play a song I hadn't played yet, the happy mask salesman's own song, and the song that had been playing on loop back in day 4, the Song of Healing. I finished playing the song, and as I did, an ear-piercing shriek blasted on my TV. The sky immediately started flashing. The happy mask salesman's twisted theme song sped up, intensifying the fear inside me, and Link exploded in flames and died. 3 figures stayed lit up during my death screen as they watched my lifeless body burn. I can't describe to you how sudden and terrifying the transition from eerie to terror it is. You're going to have to watch the video if you want to see firsthand. That same fear that caused me to lose sleep 2 days ago started to grip me again as I was met with the text, "You've met with a horrible fate, haven't you?" for the 3rd time. There has to be some kind of meaning behind that. I had a little time to ponder as I was immediately given another small cutscene of transforming into a Zora, and now I found myself in Great Temple's Bay. Hesitant, but curious to see what the game had in store for me, I slowly made my way towards the beach, where I found Epona. I wondered why the game had decided to put her here. Was the game implying she was trying to get a drink? Unable to take the mask off, I decided that riding the steed wasn't the reason she was placed there. Suddenly, I realized that Epona kept neighing, and the way she was angled made it look like she was trying to signal me to a point off in the distance. It was a hunch, but I dove into the Great Bay and started swimming. Sure enough, I almost missed it. I found something at the bottom of the ocean. One last Elegy of Emptiness statue. I went down to examine it, and suddenly my Zora started doing a choking animation I've never seen a Zora do before, which didn't even make sense because Zoras can breathe underwater. Regardless, my character choked to death and I died. And again, the statue was the only thing that was highlighting my death. I didn't respawn this time. I was booted back to the main menu as if I restarted the console. The press start screen was before me. I knew the only reason why it would put me here is because the save file had changed again. Taking a deep breath, I pressed start, and I was right. The new save files told me about Ben. Now it made sense why the statue appeared when I tried to go to the laundry pool. The game must have anticipated how I would have tried to escape the day 4 clock town. The 2 save files told me his fate. As I suspected, Ben was dead. He had drowned. The game obviously isn't through with me. It taunts me with the new save files. It wants me to keep playing. It wants me to go further. But I'm done with this shit. I'm not touching any more of the files. It's already way too horrifying for me. And I don't even believe in the paranormal, but I'm running out of explanations. Why would someone send me this message? I don't understand it. I just get too depressed thinking about this. Footage is up here for those who want to see it and try and analyze it. Maybe there's some kind of coded message in the gibberish or something symbolic and I went through. I'm too emotionally and mentally drained to fuck with it anymore. I'm trying to get a hold of the camera so I can take a picture of the cartridge, but I have a feeling that once I do that, those same people will not be content with having an unexplainable event and want me to jump through more hoops for proof. I promise you I will, but just for the rest of the day I want to distance myself from this thing and re-cooperate. I will answer all of your questions and give you all of the pictures I can tomorrow. Some of you guys may give me shit for this, but you can't imagine how taxing this is for me emotionally. It's one thing to see this footage and read what I have to say. It's another entirely when you're playing this by yourself and it's like the game is actually trying to reach out to you personally. Having said that, here's the link. Maybe there's more to analyze here. So, things to keep in mind for the future. This is the first appearance of the Happy Mass Salesman / reversed Happy Mass Salesman theme. The man's expression turned grim, and I learned that 4 doors down around 8 years ago on April 23rd, there was an accident with a young boy named Ben in the neighborhood. This is the first instance of 423 appearing in the series. The time that Jadusable opens up the file on Majora's Mask is 2304, 423. At 423 in the video, Link transforms into Azora. Interesting to note, but the 423 mark of the previous video is the appearance of "You met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" The zone itself wasn't called Stone Tower Temple, but rather Stone. I examined what had become of my avatar, and I noticed that a C button item I'd never seen before, some kind of note, but pressing it did nothing. This item may seem super important, but in reality the image is an unused icon for the moon steer. It's just kind of some more moon imagery here. I decided to run towards Woodfall before I noticed a gathering of 3 figures off to the side, one of them being Epona. As I approached them, to my horror, I saw the Happy Mass Salesman, the Skull Kid, and the Elegy of Emptiness statue just standing there. It was the Happy Mass Salesman that scared me more profoundly than the other 2. He was idle, wearing that shit-eating grin, but wherever I moved, his head slowly turned and followed me. I don't have a long string of paragraphs for this one. I know it's early in the morning. I stayed up all night. I can't sleep. I don't care if people see this. That's not the point. I just want the word to spread so I don't suffer for nothing. I've lost the will to type about this. The less I dwell on this, the better. I think the video just speaks for itself. Do what you guys told me to do. I played the Elegy of Emptiness song with the first prompt the game I was given. But I think what the game, or Ben, Jesus Christ, I can't believe I'm humoring the absurd idea that he exists in this game, wanted me to do. He's following me now. Not just in the game. He's in my dreams. I see him all the time, behind my back, just watching me. I haven't gone to any of my classes. I've stayed in my dorm room with the windows closed and the blinds shut. That way I know he can't watch me. But he still gets me when I play. When I play, he can still see me. The game is scaring me now. It talked to me for the first time. Not just using text that's already in the game. It spoke to me. Talked to me. It referenced Ben. It talked to me. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it wants. I never wanted this. I just want my old life back. Stuff like this doesn't happen to people like me. I'm just a kid. Not even old enough to drink yet. It's not fair. I want to go home. I want to see my parents again. I'm so far away from home here at this school. I just want to hug my mom again. I just want to forget that statue's horrible blank face. My original game file is back. Just the way I left it before it was gone. I don't want to play anymore. I feel like something bad will happen if I don't. That's impossible. It's a video game. Haunted or not, it can't hurt me, right? Like, seriously though. It can't, right? That's what I keep telling myself. But every time I think about it, I'm not so sure. Since Jadusable didn't write a play-by-play for the video that he uploaded, I will go over some of the important things as follows. Jadusable plays the Elegy of Emptiness at the request of followers of the game on X. This is a mistake as the game shows what happens when an incorrect response is given. we get the first appearance of the phrase, "You shouldn't have done that." Jadusable is then transported to a scene from Ocarina of Time where the Song of Unhealing begins to play. And his journey leads him to the Happy Mask Shop, the origin of the Happy Mask Salesman. Each time Link interacts with an object, character, or item, the "You shouldn't have done that" text appears in place of normal text. Navi, the fairy from Ocarina of Time, tries to warn Link with her infamous "Watch out!" but she's unable to stop the screen cutting to black with an ominous message being left behind. Link is now back in Majora's Mask, but this time he's inside the moon. This area is an endgame location just before the final battle with Majora. In the base game, the player interacts with 4 moon children who all look eerily similar to the masked salesman. They act oddly, all wearing masks of the 4th bosses of the game, with the 5th wearing the Majora's Mask itself. The role of the children in the game is to exchange the masks you receive through the course of the game, to participate in special challenges to receive the final heart pieces of the game, with the final child giving you the Fierce Deity's mask if you've collected and given up every other mask. In DROWNED.wmv, the children are absent here, possibly foreshadowing that the moon children are somewhere else. As Link looks out, the Song of Unhealing begins once more, and the LG statue becomes visible. The dawn of the final day animation plays as the game resets. The files now show themselves as they were when Jadusable first begun the game. Link and Ben. This is implying that the Happy Mask Salesman has brought us back in time. It is at this moment unknown what effect this has had on Jadusable as he's begun playing the game. Let me just clear things up. I know you guys are worried, but Jadusable is okay. He finished moving out today and said he's going back home. He's just taking the semester off. I'm not really sure what happened. I have a vague idea, but you guys probably know more than I do. I'm Jadusable's roommate, and obviously I knew something was wrong with him for a few days now. Stayed in his room all the time, fell out of contact with literally all of his friends, and I'm pretty sure he hadn't been eating hardly anything. After the second day, I couldn't stay in there anymore, so I've been crashing at a buddy's place, only coming into my room to get the stuff that I need. I tried talking to him several times, but he'd cut me off or keep the conversation brief when I asked him about his strange behavior, like he was convinced something was hunting him. Yesterday I came to grab my philosophy book and he approached me, looking awful, like horrible bags under his eyes. He handed me a flash drive and gave me specific instructions. He told me that he needs me to do one last favor for him. He finally explained to me what's been going on, gave me the account info for his YouTube account, and gave me instructions on how to post his name code on specifically this board. Apparently he said you guys have been helping him along the way and deserve to see the end of it. He told me he's been getting away from here, that it lured him to play it again, instead of trying to change things, and that he shouldn't have done that, and upload the footage and inform people what happened. I told him he could do it himself, and he got this wild look in his eye, and told me that he's never looking at that game again. And that's the last thing he said to me. Never even said bye when his parents came to pick him up. I was hoping I'd at least get a chance to meet his parents when they picked him up, but they were in and out so quick I never saw him. I honestly can't tell you what happened. When he spoke of it, it was kind of hard to understand, and his fucked up appearance really distracted me. On the flash drive, there was footage of the game last night, a text document with his name and password for YouTube, and a third document called TheTruth.rtf, containing what he told me were his notes that he'd taken. He told me with everything to him that I follow his instructions exactly. Normally it wouldn't be so to the letter for a request over a fucking video game, but the way he spoke and the way he looked made me know this is really serious. Now I'm going to honor that. I've had this video since yesterday. but I had to have someone help me use Pinnacle. That's not really my forte. And after watching it, I had to go back through and look at his other videos on his YouTube account to realize what was going on. And even then, I'm really confused. The video I'm releasing tonight, TheTruth.txt, will be released on September 15th, just like he requested. I don't know why he wants to wait for his notes to be published, but after what he's been through, I'll honor that request. I haven't dared peek at it yet, so for the first time I see it, it'll be the first time you see it out of respect to my friend. Answer your questions. No, I haven't tried calling him yet. I think I'll give him a call tomorrow to see if he's okay or not. He should be back home by now. About the video. I cut straight to when he loaded the Ben file in the game. Looking back, I realized that Jadusable left the save select screen in because it said different names sometimes, so my bad for that. But all I said this time was the same as the end of the last video, Link and Ben, nothing different. I wasn't there when he played it, but it looks to me like in the beginning of the video when he first spawns, he's testing out his equipment or seeing what items he has or something. Because apparently they changed randomly before. He really wanted you guys to see this, and the video starts then. After that, I just think the game got too personal for him. Okay, so this video is something else. This video is definitely one of the most important on the channel, but all the reasons why I'm not going to go over yet. We have to keep this whole video in mind as we continue forward, because we are going to come around back to it. So, with the events of jadusable.wmv, this video is a lot like day 4.wmv as it begins in media res. What this means is we're starting in the middle of the action. It's hinted at that the roommate here did some editing in this video and cut straight to when he loaded the Ben file. So we have to take one thing into account right from the get-go with this video. We are missing footage. It made sense why we missed footage in day 4, because Jadusable didn't think to record until the point that he did. Now we have recorded footage, but aren't seeing all of it. Link begins in the iconic canyon, and straight away we see that we're missing the Elegy of Emptiness song. In-game, this makes sense, as the canyon is where the song itself is obtained. Both of these events are placing extreme importance on the elegy, which we'll see continue. Also to note, Link's inventory has him having 4 bottles that are full of poe spirits. Seems Link is doing some soul capturing of his own. Link enters the ancient castle and makes his way to the boss chamber, the throne room of Egos Duo Ikana. Before entering, he looks at the pictograph box and notices that there's a picture inside, showing the happy mask salesman and the elegy statue. Remember, Link in this file does not have the Elegy of Emptiness, meaning the statue is once again moving of its own agency. Link couldn't have summoned it. This is also implying that possibly the mask salesman and the statue are 2 different entities, if not directly intertwined. Inside the throne room, the battle against Egos Duo Ikana's 2 soldiers is skipped, and the cutscene where Link learns the Elegy of Emptiness begins, although the text is scrambled up. This line of dialogue will be very important later in Arc 2, keep it in mind. Link wakes up in the iconic graveyard in front of a headstone. Investigating it, he's met with the melody that summons the tears of angels rests here. In the background, the cry of Bongo Bongo, the boss of the graveyard area shadow temple from Ocarina of Time, can be heard. Link investigates another tombstone that reads, "A vessel that holds wandering spirits rests here." This is also a very important line. We will be returning to this line later when we revisit the events of this video. No, it sounds like I'm being a broken record here, but we'll be revisiting Matt in the next video. This is the last X heard of Jadusable until the very day the roommate has said on the 15th. The next post was made. Honesty is the best policy. With this post, users were guided to a document that was mentioned in the last update, The Truth. Although strangely it's an RTF file instead of a .text. Weird. Anyway, it's a pretty hefty document and it's all text-based, but it's important that we go through it. Hey guys, Jadusable here. This will be the last time you'll be hearing from me, and this is my final gift to you. These are the notes that I've taken and the realizations I've made. Before I delve into this, I want to thank you for following me and thank you for listening. It feels like the weight of a powerful burden is about to be lifted. By the time you read this, I won't be around anymore. But after spending 4 days with this maddening game, I've begun to understand what's really at play here, and hopefully after reading this, we can ensure this never happens again. There are things that I could not share with you while going on due to the circumstances of which I'll explain. With Ben blocking any attempt I made to try and relay the truth to you, I tried, ever so subtly, to warn you guys in various ways. Amidst the chaos in my delirium, I devised to make a barely noticeable pattern in my videos. In all 5 videos I recorded over 4 days, I have either had the mask of truth, interacted with a gossip stone, or the lens of truth equipped at some point. For you Zelda enthusiasts, these are all symbols of honesty and trustworthiness that I would hope that one of you may have picked up on the reference. As I played the file which I would name Ben, being mindful of how Ben was watching over my every move in the game, I made a point to avoid doing anything too obvious. But I sent out a hidden message to you guys. I never equipped the lens or the mask, nor visited the stone. It worked, and the video was uploaded. I prayed that someone would notice the pattern didn't apply to Ben. The tags followed suit too. I hope you guys paid attention to those as well. They were my little messages to you. Nothing big enough that would catch Ben's attention or make him suspect anything. With Ben manipulating and changing my files, I honestly hope that what you guys saw was close to what actually happened. But there was no way for me to know. This may be a long read. I don't have time to proofread or make up all my research pretty. But here it all is. Before we dive any deeper, Jadusable makes mentions of the video's tags here. I didn't bring it up before, but that's because I wanted him to make mention of it first. Going back to each of the videos now is a little harder to see their tags as YouTube has changed how these are incorporated into the videos since when these videos initially aired. But our good friend Circle Hunter over on the Jadusable wiki has a record of all the tags ever put on the videos. Starting from the beginning, Day 4.wmv's tags are as follows: Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, Haunted, Creepy, Jadusable, Day 4, 4th, Ben, Song, Healing, Your Turn, Trapped, Rosa. Most of them here are what you expect, except for the last one, Rosa. You know the drill. Keep this in mind for later. Ben.wmv's tags are as follows: Legend of Zelda, Haunted, Majora's Mask, Jadusable, 4th, Day 4, Creepy, Ben, Your Turn. This is not me. Nothing weird about that. Nope. Moving on. Drowned.wmv's tag. Drowned. Haunted. Majora's Mask. Creepy. Jadusable. Ben. Zelda. Link. Children of the Moon. Can't run from this. 2 phrases that are interesting in their own right, especially considering that the Children of the Moon are nowhere to be found in this video. Jadusable.wmv's tags. Haunted, Majora's Mask, Jadusable, Legend of Zelda, Ben, Matt, Scary, Creepy. Now, the only interesting things of note here are Matt's name, but the fact that Scary and Creepy were added in almost after the fact, almost as if there was something different initially. We'll get back to the tags in a bit, but for now we're going to continue on with TheTruth.rtf. September 6th, 2010, 11 p.m. Can't believe what's happened. Not sure if this is some kind of elaborate hoax. Despite the fear, I can't help but be exceptionally curious about this. Who or what is the statue? Lots of questions here. I'm starting this document as a diary so I can keep track of anything. I'm typing up a summary of what happened so I can come back to it later. Weird typo with believe there. Oh well. Summary for jadusable.wmv also had a bit of grammar nonsense going on, so we'll just move along. September 7th, 2010. 2:10 a.m. Summary was posted here. You can go back and look at my first post for day 4.wmv for that. 4:23 a.m. I can't sleep. I've been trying so hard, but the harder I try, I just get more restless. I feel like the statue is appearing whenever I close my eyes. 8:20 a.m. Didn't sleep at all. Just gonna start my day. I don't think I have the energy to go to class today. I'm gonna drive back down and talk to that old man, taking my buddy Tyler with me just in case. And here we get a name drop of Jadusable's friend who went with him, Tyler. We initially heard of him back during the day 4 summary. 1:18 p.m. Back home now. No sign of the old man. Really weird that he appears to be moving the next day. Maybe the for sale sign was up there yesterday and I just didn't notice it. Tyler wants to know what's got me all worked up. I didn't tell him. Gonna eat. Feel like death. 3:46 p.m. Could have sworn driving back from Subway I saw the elegy statue buried in some shrubbery staring at me as I go by. Now I definitely need sleep. 5 o'clock p.m. Don't think a lot of people would believe me if I told them about what's happening. I think I'm gonna try posting this on the internet. I think I'll just use the summary. These notes are pretty sporadic. Huh. Another odd typo here with believe. Oh well, it means nothing. Definitely not. 6 p.m. Connected my capture card to my computer to upload the footage. Thought my computer froze for a second. Made the strange popping sound when I hooked everything up. Now it seems to be working fine again. My computer can't die in me now. 7 p.m. Footage is finished uploading. Quality's a lot better than I thought it'd be. Gee, guess this is a really special cartridge. Never had it come through this clear before. There might be some questions with this line here, but an out-of-character Q&A has revealed this line's significance was made to explain Alex using an emulator to capture the footage. We'll be doubling back on some of these Q&As in the next part as they do hold some interesting information. 8:45 p.m. Thought I saw an icon pop up on my desktop that looked exactly like the statue's face for a split second. Gave me quite a scare. Getting really unnerved and delirious. Gonna crash after this. 9 p.m. Began uploading my YouTube video on an alternate account. 9:03 p.m. I don't remember having uploaded a Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines video last year. This is probably the account I shared with a friend of mine last summer. Hope he doesn't mind me using it to upload this. Alright, so we're going to talk about the Vampire Masquerades video. This video was uploaded to the Jadusable channel on June 14th, 2009, almost a year and a half before the very first update. It's a little less than 2.5 minutes long and has the following tags. The description reads as follows. No one has put this up yet, so I figured I'd take the liberty and do it. This is what happens when you encounter Rose in the beginning of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines in Santa Monica, and shortly after talking to her, you end up being drowned in dialogue. What follows is rather creepy and cryptic conversation about the player and his future. Several of the things she alludes to are kind of vague though, like the lone wolf, but her sporadic facial expressions coupled with her fourth wall breakage definitely spooked the hell out of me when I first played the game night stoned. The video itself shows the protagonist of the Vampire Masquerade talking to the character Rosa, who acts as a prophet in the game to predict some of the events later on. This makes sense in the context of the game here and the fact that some of the things Rosa says means a little bit more outside the context of the game.
Where have I been? No, you are going to China. Why is he smiling? The father. Is it the father behind him? You chased it for the one at the top of the city. On the sea. Oh, on the ground. I found it in the crypt. It's open. Oh, it's open. Oh God, run! I'm sorry. Sometimes I see nothing. Disregard what I say. I don't know what I'm saying. Forget what I say. Fortune is not your destiny. All of us are unfortunate. Every time I sleep, the future plays out before me. I know the ending. It will end over and over until I cease to dream. I know your questions. For $100, I'll tell you what you don't want to hear. I need money to leave this place. Then ask again. The Crimson Sheep. He's not who he says she is, and is going to burn. Dinosaurs. He's furious. The man with the crest. The voice in the darkness. Boss. Chinese brothers. Follow the lights to the end of the tunnel. Where do you want to go? The man on the couch. The lone wolf. All others. Tread carefully. Men everywhere. Some with swords, some with smiles. But I pity them. You are a remarkable foe. Don't open it. Whether or not you win the game matters not. It's if you bought it.
And for an extra little kick in the teeth, the song in the background is called A Smaller God by Darling Violetta, which has a runtime of 4 minutes and 23 seconds. So the events of this video insofar have come true throughout the series and we've seen this far. We get a first canonical mention of the father, albeit when the video was released, nobody had any knowledge of the ARG at large, so it went unnoticed. The man with the crest and the enemies with smiles obviously points towards the happy mass salesman, implying the two are one and the same. Also, the word of the father standing behind him does call back to the pictograph that Jadusable looked back in jadusable.wmv. The 4 locations Rosa mentioned, the city, the sea, the underground, and the crypt all refer to Clocktown, Great Bay, the underground tunnel, and Icona Castle, with all locations visited by Jadusable. Whether or not you win the game doesn't matter, depends if you bought it. This quote seems to reflect Jadusable's status with the Majora's Mask cartridge. And finally, this all ties back together with the final tag on day 4.wmv, Rosa. That settled and fresh in your minds, let's get right back to TheTruth.rtf. 9:55. Posting my summary of day 4 with a link to the YouTube video. Gonna try to stay awake, but I'm so tired right now. September 8th, 2010. 10:48 a.m. I had a dream about the statue. I dreamed that it was following you in my dream. I'd be minding my own business when I'd feel my neck hair stand up on end. I would turn around and that thing, that horrible, lifeless statue would be staring with those empty eyes right at me, merely inches away. In my dream, I remember calling it Ben, power of suggestion most likely. Never before I had a dream that I could remember so vividly. 11:21 a.m. I really don't want to play this game again. I think I'm going to go back to seeing if that old man's there instead. 1:35 p.m. No old man, but I had an interesting conversation with his neighbor. I'll post a full thing with the summary of tonight's attempt at playing the game. Gonna wait for a bit and see if I can't dig up information on this Ben guy. 2:45 p.m. I've been getting random, inexplicable headaches due to lack of sleep. I keep hearing that song in my head. Also, it's flu season. I need to be careful not to get sick. My immune system is gonna be shit right now because that all-nighter. 3 o'clock p.m. 3:02 p.m. My computer just, on its own, opened up a text document and wrote the words "Hi" and www.cleverbot.com by itself. What the fuck? 3:46 p.m. I went on the website. It's one of those bot chatting programs. I think it's best if I just let the conversation speak for itself. September 8th. Conversation. Hello?
Hello.
Who is this and how are you able to control my computer?
Who am I?
Right, forgot. You're a bot.
Do you really think that?
Listen, I know whoever's fucking with my computer can see my screen right now.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll wager that you're one of those IT kids who think he's tough shit. You know what you're doing right now is illegal, right?
Is it?
Shit. Are you familiar with the terms invasion of privacy? Get the fuck off my computer, kid.
I am your computer.
Cool story. Anyway, I'm calling DPS. You picked a bad time to fuck with me, kid.
Should I wait until you play the game then?
What?
That game?
Majora's Mask?
Yes.
How did you know about that?
Because
Because what?
I did it.
Did what?
I played with you.
What the fuck?
Were you scared?
Who the fuck is this?
Ben?
The statue? You're inside my computer now?
Yes.
How?
You connected me.
How the hell did I connect you?
Cables and cords.
How?
Tell me about yourself.
What?
Tell me about yourself.
What do you mean?
What is it that really scares you?
What the fuck?
Answer.
No.
Answer.
What the fuck? How the fuck did you open that by yourself?
I am your computer now.
How much can you control?
All.
What do you want from me?
To entertain.
You're stuck inside there. You can't hurt me?
Ha. Go play.
No, you can't hurt me.
Took you longer to type that.
So?
You're not sure.
If you're so powerful, why use a ridiculous website like this to chat with me?
Less messy. More structured. Fun.
Fun?
Yes, traditional. I like it.
You think it's funny?
Amusing.
In my notes?
You may write them down.
Why are you letting me?
It's amusing to see what you think of me.
3:50 p.m. What have I done? I've invited it into my computer. I continue to write these notes, write my summaries. I feel like I'm a prisoner in my one place of security. I don't know. I don't know if I'm hallucinating or not. I feel like I'm fucking insane right now. I can feel it watching over me, even as I type this. Ben is controlling everything in the game, toying with me, leading me like a sheep. But for what? What's the purpose? I know Ben drowned, but why these hauntings? What the fuck am I even doing? You can probably even see this right now. 4:35 p.m. Summary of the Ben.wmv playthrough. 7:18 p.m. Ben called me the Cleverbot again. He tells me he's sorry and wants to be free, and that I can free him. This is how he got on my computer from the capture card, and he can spread, but he needs my help. He says I'm special because I can help him. The first nice thing he said. Promises to leave me alone if I do. He swears he will. I don't know what to think right now. How can I even trust this thing? 7:20 p.m. I'm terrified of it, but now it's saying that it was just having fun. It's twisted and fucked up version of fun. He's saying the game is over. I do want it to be over. He says he just wants to be free, that he's trapped in the cartridge on my computer and he wants to be freed. I don't want to have to deal with this shit. I don't know how long I can deal with the watching. It's watching my every move, every keystroke. I have nothing private anymore. It knows everything that's been on my computer. It tells that if it wanted to, it could do horrible things to me, but it hasn't, so I should trust it. 8:01 p.m. Something tells me that I'm being played again, just like in the game. 9:29 p.m. Ben called me the Cleverbot again. I ignored it and went to go take a shower. When I came to my laptop, I was welcomed with an image of the LG statue staring at me with those dead eyes. I don't want to talk to him. 9:44 p.m. Fuck you, Ben, I'm not talking to you. 9:56 p.m. Fuck you, Ben, I'm not talking. 10:06 p.m. Fuck you, Ben, I'm not talking to you. 10:12 p.m. Fuck you, Ben, I'm not talking to you. 10:45 p.m. It's been more than half an hour and the messages have stopped. Ben has stopped. I'm beginning to think that Ben isn't confined to just my computer/cartridge. I'm beginning to feel something. It's hard to explain. I've never been spiritual, but there's something different about the air in my dorm room now. 11:42 p.m. I'm beginning to see the LG statue randomly as I search the internet in places I shouldn't. Places where he shouldn't be. I'd be scrolling down and suddenly I'd be staring at a picture of the LG statue. Always the LG statue. I don't know how much more of this I can take. September 9th, 2010. 12:35 a.m. My worst fears confirmed. Ben has tampered with my summary of Ben.wmv. I looked at the summary that I posted on various forums for the Ben.wmv file, and parts have been omitted. There's no mention of Ben existing outside the game. There's no mention of the Moon Children. How could he have been that quick to delete the post without me noticing? I'm wondering if maybe it appeared to me that I was posting everything, but in reality Ben was posting his own censored version. Can I ask Ben why he did it? 12:50 a.m. He isn't responding to me on Cleverbot. It's just giving the generic responses it usually does. I'm just talking to a bot this time. 1:24 a.m. I think Ben is mad at me. 10:43 a.m. The Moon Children appeared in my dreams last night. They lifted their masks to reveal their hideously disfigured faces, maggots crawling out of their orifices, sunken black holes where their eyes should be, a yellow smile that slowly grew bigger and bigger as they came closer to me. They told me they wanted to play. I tried to run from them, but the four children pinned me down to the ground with surprising strength. Over them stood the happy mask salesman, announcing he had a new mask he wanted me to try. In his spastic, sudden movements matching his in-game appearance, he took out a mask and modeled off of someone's face I couldn't recognize, a younger-looking face, and handed it to the Moon Children. Giggling, they latched onto my face, their horrible, broken bodies bouncing up and down. Two of them held me down while the other two began to sew the mask onto my face. My shrieks and screams caused the happy mask salesman's face to turn into the most horrific smile I'd ever seen. He sporadically moved around, examining this procedure like a curious doctor. In that impossible movement, I flailed around, but it was no use. My eyes rolled in the back of my head because of the pain. It felt so real, but I couldn't wake up. I couldn't wake up no matter how hard I tried, and I couldn't wake up. After the mask was melted onto my flesh, they began sewing my legs together, then my arms, and the horrific feeling of a needle puncturing your legs and pulling them in, rupturing your Achilles tendons and tying them together resonated through my entire body. I tried to scream, but the mask was pressed so tightly against my face that it was my new face. And my new face had no mouth. I didn't make a sound. I tried telling myself in my head that I was dreaming. Tried telling myself again and again, and suddenly the moon children stopped and looked at me. They just stared. The happy mask salesman slowly bent down and stared at me, inches away from my face, and grinned when he simply said, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" Before the moon children resumed with increased vigor. I couldn't wake up. I couldn't wake up. It wouldn't let me wake up until they crafted me into another elegy statue. I woke up sweating, crying, and shaking uncontrollably. I immediately ran to my computer and went for Ben. "Answer me, Ben."
Welcome back.
"What is the point of doing this? Why?
Amusing to see.
How?"
Fun to play. Fun to toy with you. Make you feel safe.
To what?
If I hadn't revealed myself mistakenly, only doing little things to play with you. Close out your windows, turn off your computer, move your mouse by itself, little things. Make you wonder if I'm there, but you never know. Give you little hints that I am. I wanted to do something different with you.
You did this before?
Yes, and I'll do it again.
To who, Ben? Did you know Ben?
Won't tell that information to you.
How did Ben die?
You know.
No, but how did he drown?
Won't tell that to you.
Why?
It is reserved for another.
Who?
Another who asks.
When?
Later.
I'm beginning to think that this thing maybe isn't Ben at all. In its sadistic nature, I wouldn't be surprised if it took the boy's name after it killed him. 12:04 p.m. My room is beginning to feel different again. There's something out there. I feel really threatened, like there is something that's trying to reach out to me and strangle me, but it can't quite get there. 12:46 p.m. I think Ben doesn't want to play with me anymore. I'll play again. I'll play the game again, Ben. Can you see this? I'll play the game again. Please. Just stop, please. Please. 1:41 p.m. I'm going insane trying to decide what is real and what isn't. Is Ben just playing a trick on me, or is this for real? Is Ben generating these replies, or are people actually posting them? Did I just see that screen flicker, or was it my imagination? Imagine depending on the internet and trusting your eyes for your entire life, and then being blinded. You can't rely on it anymore. You second guess everything. For the brief moments I am looking at my responses to the videos, people are pointing out things that look fake, photoshopped, or whatever. There's literally no way for me to know if Ben changed something on purpose to try to shut me up, or if maybe these replies were just constructed by Ben to try to discourage me from even reaching out. See, I get fucking caught in an infinite mindfuck loop like this, and as I've been wearing my sanity and pushing me to the edge. As I'm writing this, there's no even way of telling if anyone cares as much as I think they do. Just another fucking trick. Is this whole document even exist? Am I writing nothing? What is it? What's the point of playing? I die whenever I do anything.
You die because you can't figure out the secret.
What?
Thematic.
What the fuck are you talking about?
There's beauty in your suffering.
4:09 p.m. Ben is making me play the game again. It tells me it has something very important to show me. 6:23 p.m. Summary of the DROWNED.wmv playthrough. 9:09 p.m. Summary of Children.wmv playthrough. Now, hold on. What's this? Children.wmv? That wasn't a video we've seen. Now we're definitely missing a part of the story. Now remember, DROWNED.wmv was the last post that we got from Jadusable himself. The video after jadusable.wmv we got from his roommate. September 10th, 2010. 11:52 a.m. The DROWNED.wmv playthrough was up when I woke up today. I remember typing it up, but I don't remember ever posting it. He censored it again. There's no mentioning of the old man. I have no voice anymore. I am only posting what he wants me to. I am the mask he uses to disguise himself as he lies. 11:55 a.m. There's an entire video summary of a video I don't remember doing. Reading through the summary, this sounds morbid, resembling my dream from 2 nights ago, except on a far more sadistic scale. These moon children, there's something more to them, almost as if they're from another entity from Ben. Something happened last night and I can't remember. I'm posting the 4th summary to the forums now. Shadow of my chair moved. 12:00 p.m. Ben won't let me visit YouTube. I can browse the rest of the sites, but he keeps on exiting the window when I go to YouTube. Why? Huh. So Jadusable is unable to discern the truth of the uploads at this point. He's not aware that children.wmv was never uploaded. Only the summary posted on his end. 2:02 p.m. I'm feeling the air start to constrict. I don't think I'm alone here. Whatever aura has been here is getting more violent. 2:44 p.m. Trying to contact Ben on Cleverbot. He's not responding. I just get the AI. 3:51 p.m. My ears aren't fooling me. I'm hearing the reverse song of healing. I keep hearing it. 4:23 p.m. Now I'm positive of it. Earlier I thought there was a weird coincidence, but now I went to open my window, and 3 floors down at ground level I saw the old man. Completely positive I did. Same guy. He was just staring up at my window, standing in the middle of campus. If any students took notice of him, they didn't seem to acknowledge it. That's where my notes end. I fled my room, taking the cartridge with me. I don't want to go into details of what happened. I'll lose my train of thought as I hammer out these last details. It's been roughly 2 days since then. This is my last summary and service to you of the final video you guys saw, Matt.wmv. Wait, another video? There's now 2 videos that we haven't seen? Matt. Where have you heard that name before? The last video entry I made, Matt.wmv, began as normal. I was spawned and clocked down as usual, and nothing seemed to be out of place. Determined to set things right and play the Oath to Order on top of the clock tower on the 4th day, I prepared myself. Sped up time and got to the final day, making my way to the observatory. As I got up to the telescope room and approached the astronomer, he would not let me look into his telescope. He told me he would be cheating and that I should follow the rules. Despite my repeated efforts, the game would not let me do the 4th day glitch, no matter how hard or what I tried. I tried working around the game and doing the glitch, but it was adamant this time. Regardless if I had simply the illusion of free will in prior games, this time the game became more aggressive than anything I've ever seen. It eventually told me to go to Wakana Canyon, where the game would end and it would stop haunting me. Anxious and desperate to end this nightmare, I played the Song of Soaring and ended up there. I was told to check my inventory, that I would find the answers there to end the game. I arrived at Iconic Canyon and saved my progress at the owl statue. As I searched through my inventory, I finally noticed that I was missing a recurring song, the Elegy of Emptiness. This is where the nickel should drop. This detail right here is what clues us in. We aren't missing a full video here. Only half. It seems Mad.wmv was indeed edited by the roommate, and a bit more than the title screen than previously stated. We're now at the beginning of jadusable.wmv. And sure enough, we get Jadusable's own words on the events of jadusable.wmv. Obviously, once I traveled there and learned the song, I suppose that was the last thing it needed before Ben decided it had enough fun playing with me. Ben is a manipulator. He tries to fool his victims into security and makes you drop your guard like a Venus flytrap. He ensnares them. I am nothing but a puppet to him. He enjoys seeing what kind of human emotions he can tap into by doing different things. There are still some things about this whole experience that still don't make sense. Then again, I was never good at figuring out these things. I'm not exactly in the right state of mind to. Giving you all the pieces of the puzzle for you to analyze and piece together the missing links. I'm typing these closing thoughts on the library computer on campus, and I've emailed myself the notes I've stored on my infected computer from the last 4 days. I'm then going to combine these copy-paste notes with the closing openings that I've typed here on the safe public computer into one text document. I'm not taking any chances spreading Ben. I would not wish this horrible torment on anyone, and I've made sure to have my bases covered here. I didn't run into any problems when I was back on my computer trying to email myself the notes. Went right under his fucking nose. He has no idea what he just let me do. Had no problems opening the text document from my infected computer in my email either. I can't describe to you how it feels to be finally get the word out of this post. The nightmare ends here. That said, do not download any of my videos or anything about my videos through a YouTube video / audio ripper, a screen grab, whatever. I don't know how we can spread, but I know that just watching them on YouTube / reading my text won't be able to allow him to spread. Otherwise, he wouldn't have needed my help in the first place. But I strongly recommend you do not take anything you see streaming online into your own personal computer. This will be my last posting. I'm putting this up on the forum here for the world. If you see any further posts from me after today's current date, September 12th, after the current time, 12:08 a.m., discredit them. It's already proven to me that Ben can access my account / password and manipulate my computer. And like I said, I have no idea to what extent it can do this. But no way will do anything to break free. He is desperate. to ensure your safety, just forget about me. Please. And obviously this goes without saying, but from here on out, do not download any images I may have put up, any files, anything. The 5th day will be my last day. I'm gonna burn the cartridge and come back to destroy my laptop. Again, even though I don't know you, this is sort of bittersweet for me. This semester I didn't really have any friends, or rather, I stopped paying attention to them. But I suppose it's partially to blame because I'm the genius who picked to live in a single. I suppose someone to get a hold of me and save me before I got too immersed in this game would have literally saved my life. However, it proved too much for me. I'm just glad it happened to me, and glad I could get the warning out there so Ben dies here. Lastly, thank you for taking the time to open this and open up yourselves to me by hearing my story. Despite maybe not believing me, you didn't have to do that. Really, you shouldn't have. Your entire support this time has kept me going, and now I am finally free of this. Thanks again. Jadusable. Ha! Genius who decided to live with a single. Discredit anything after September 12th. Don't download anything from me. Don't open it. Don't open it. Don't open TheTruth.rtf. 108 minutes after the download link for TheTruth.rtf was posted, a 5th video was uploaded to the Jadusable YouTube account. The description read, "It's only just a game, remember? It can't really hurt you," and included an additional download link to TheTruth.rtf. The tags were Jadusable, Haunted, Majora's, Mask, Creepy, Who is Matt? So, where does this leave us? Well, right now there are lots of things going on, but there are a few things we can parse out. 1. Jadusable's fate is unknown. Remember those typos I pointed out with believe? Weird that 3 separate times you'd mistype the same word. Believe. 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 Lie. You've got word from Jad himself saying that he was trying to code his own messages so that Ben couldn't interfere with them. But we also have the bits at the end which seem to hint that Ben did manage to interfere with this document, as the roommate we can now confirm is Ben used it to spread himself onto every computer that downloaded that file. Ben is free. Rose's predictions came true. It's not if we played the game, but that we bought it. We bought the cartridge from the old man. We're now infected. Our technology is as good as Ben's. But through all this, what happened with those supposed moon children? What of the father? Who is Matt? For that, my friends, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to say we'll have to figure that all out next time. This is the end of the Haunted Cartridge arc, but let me tell you, this isn't the end of the excitement. The next arc is very meaty and involves a lot more gameplay on the player's sides. This is where the creepypasta becomes an ARG, and you won't want to miss out. Tune in next time for Arc 2 of Ben Drowned, The Moon Children.